Yesterday on ESPN, Dan Orlovsky fighting with Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp, discussing whether the Cowboys have a winning culture or a culture problem.
To say the Cowboys don't have a winning culture is ridiculous, Stephen A. They absolutely have.
You're ridiculous for saying that.
You're ridiculous. You're utterly ridiculous.
Shocking that you two agree. They've won 12 games 3 years in a row, guys. They absolutely have a winning culture. They have a winning. They don't have a championship culture. No one's saying that.
What the hell is a winning culture? That's the point of winning. What are you talking about?
No, there's not.
Oh my God!
How many teams in the NFL have a championship culture that it actually has result? A handful. Realistically, a championship culture.
The Cowboys are not on that hand end.
But they've won 12 games 3 years in a row, guys. If they don't have a winning culture, it would be a losing culture.
What team do you, excuse me, Dan Orlovsky, what team do you know is accused of having a winning culture that don't have a championship attached to it? Who are these people that's talking about winning coaches when you don't have a championship?
What teams do you know? About? What teams do you know that win 12 games a year? So what is that? Plus 66% of the games a year and considered a losing culture.
Dan Orlovsky must be listening to Shan and RJ, and props to Dan for repeating. And you didn't give props to him in your email last night.
Because he doesn't deserve it.
Which you should have. You got to, again, I'm the only one here. Fair AF. You got to be unbiased, and you got to take individual things for what they are. And Orlovsky said exactly what we did last week. In fact, you're the one who said it.
Uh-oh.
You said...
What did I say? There's no chance I ever said anything Dan Orlovsky said.
The Cowboys don't have a culture problem. They don't have a culture advantage.
Yes.
And that's exactly what Dan said right there. He's right. Shannon and Stephen A. are wrong.
No.
Let me see how you twist this.
No, because...
Just because Dan's the one who said it.
Because, again, he's talking about, he says they do have a winning culture. He's like, it's not a championship culture, which, again... It's a little bit of semantics. It's not. It's not. We would not have said, like, in the early 2000s, like, the Kings have a winning culture. No, they were, like, considered losers. They were considered, couldn't get over them. No, like, that is genuinely, I don't think you can say anybody has a winning culture when they're in about the longest conference championship drought in the entire NFL.
See, you use the semantics to make Dan look bad. Do the Cowboys have a culture? He's saying the Cowboys do not have a culture problem. We all agree with that. They don't have something that Dan Snyder had a culture problem.
It's not pass or fail. So you're not either like
right.
Okay, so if you say they don't have a championship culture, they do have a winning culture because they're not. They certainly don't have a losing culture because they don't lose unless you consider that there's only such thing as one winning culture in the sport at any given time.
No, but I'll say this: if we all feel like
who's more wrong in their argument.
Like, do the Niners have a winning culture?
Who's more wrong in whose argument?
In their argument on ESPN that they just had.
Dan.
Stephen A.
Because he's like, what he's calling. No, this is completely consistent.
You're so incapable.
No,
you're so inconsistent.
He is complete. No, this is like completely consistent. Is that we're talking just because you don't have a culture problem? That's the whole point. Like a championship culture, a winning culture, that is an advantage. That is a culture advantage. They don't have a culture advantage.
Does San Fran have a winning culture?
I think that's yet to be determined. They've got however you want to say it. They've gotten further than Dallas has. They've gotten to the championship.
I don't know how you could say San Fran doesn't have a winning culture. I think you would get laughed if they were on. If everybody on First Take would say San Fran has a winning culture.
Yes,
San Fran has a longer Super Bowl drought than we do.
Didn't you, like, along with the rest of us, though, laugh about the idea a couple weeks ago when McCarthy said this is a championship culture? We just don't have a championship yet.
He goes, no. He said we are champions. We just haven't won a champion yet.
No, he said we have a championship program or a championship culture.
Yeah, program. Look, of course, that's funny.
All this is semantics. To boil it down, and Bobby, you can argue it if you want to continue to, fill your narrative.
I've been off for 4 days. I'm ready.
Orlovsky, the Dallas Cowboys, they don't have this poisonous, cancerous thing dragging them down.
Correct.
They don't have the culture advantage, like I believe Travis Kelce gave the Chiefs, in the playoff run. Or you hear about special leadership stories. They don't have that. And that's what Orlovsky was saying. Stephen A. and Shannon want to make it championship or bust, in my opinion. And the way that we can prove that the Dallas Cowboys don't have the culture solution, listen to Jerry Jones answer this question on the Combine bus in Indy.
When I look at our team, we need to be able to stop the run better, and we need to be able to run the ball better. If that's culture, then we got a problem.
So you don't see a sense of entitlement or anything like that?
No. With players?
Yes, with players.
Yeah. No, not at all. Our players that many deserve to feel good about themselves and feel good about the plays that what they have contributed to the team. But those happen to be the very same players that get down on themselves more than anybody when they don't play well. That is not a problem on this team.
Okay, that was a better answer than I heard earlier from Jerry, where he's like, what is culture? What is culture to you? Let me hear you define culture. He kind of reversed it back on the reporters. But that was a pretty decent answer there at the end. Clarence tried to nail him down and say, so your players don't feel entitled? Your locker room does not feel entitled? And then obviously Jerry gave a pro players answer.
And that's the thing. I think that Jerry sincerely regrets saying what he said earlier this offseason.
Yeah.
All in and some other things. And I think they are just, it definitely feels like they realize, like, did we write, did we write checks that our ass can't cash? And like, that's kind of where they're at this point. And they're trying to walk back and be more, let's be a little more reserved and tepid in the way that we talk about things.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, there's a lot of teams that don't win titles that have winning cultures, that Shannon Sharp would talk about having winning cultures. And, Shannon wants to make it into a...
Well, he's also playing a role on that show.
Of course he is.
He's a Cowboy. I think they're a lot less scripted than they used to be.
Right.
But Shannon, his scripts are they're still pretty obvious. He's pro Laker guy, Cowboy hater. That's the role he plays on that show, just like he did at FS1.
Shannon was a great player. He was one of the all-time greats.
But to be fair, San Fran is different from us. Let's not make it all or nothing. Their championship, the San Francisco 49ers are much more successful than the Dallas Cowboys. The San Francisco 49ers are a true legit contender compared to the Dallas Cowboys. They are on different levels, and that makes them they're winners more than we are. It's don't reverse your own, don't boomerang your all pass or fail thing on yourself. San Fran is a legit, consistent contender and Super Bowl participant. We can't sniff it. There's a major difference.
That's true. They have made the Super Bowl, twice in 6 years or whatever it is?
Conference championship. They won that.
They did. There's no doubt. I bet you over the last 3 years, we have the same amount of wins. I don't know, but you know what I mean? But they have not won the championship. And if Shannon and Stephen A want to boil it down to that, then Shannon's got to say, hey, you know what? The Ravens don't have winning culture either. Because they ain't won diddly.
Isn't that a criticism people have had about the Ravens? Is that, do they have that?
I don't know. Everybody seems to say they're the best run organization in the sport or in the AFC or whatever.
Yeah, the Ravens are praised as a great organization.
As team building. But I think, this is the thing. I think we're just talking about different aspects of it.
Because it's a humongously vague topic. The word culture means 5,000 different things to different people.
So, but to us, when we say they don't have a culture advantage, wouldn't having a culture advantage be a winning culture? Just because you win, I don't think that necessarily means that their culture has contributed to that.
Do the Chiefs have a culture advantage? Because they're fighting on the sidelines. They've got guys who don't know the rules. Kadarius Toney out there. They don't have a culture advantage. They have Patrick Mahomes. He's their culture advantage.
No, I completely...
Do the Bills have a culture advantage? Stephon Diggs can't do anything but complain.
And they've fallen short. They've been considered failures.
The Bills are a culture advantage.
I would say, by the way,
championship culture.
I think them...
Who's ever said that? About Buffalo.
I don't know. I'm sure people have.
I think Kelsey and Andy Reid getting into it on the sideline and going for it.
You got that mixed up. Sean McDermott said that Al Qaeda had a championship culture.
That's right. That was Al Qaeda. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. I think that when you look at the meltdowns on the sidelines of Buffalo, for instance, with Stephon Diggs, I think if you try to say that those are the same as the Kelsey Andy Reid interaction, I don't think that's intellectually honest. I think that if you're looking at it from the perspective of championship culture, I don't think blow-ups on the sideline or friction is Like, I don't think that's mutually exclusive to championship culture.
Don't confuse me with intellectualism or honesty. I've never pretended to be either.
Here's what Dak said last night. Yeah, the culture is high, honestly, and the culture is great from my standpoint. My point is that's something I've bragged on and took pride in. So if there's questions of that or concerns, I feel attacked. I'm sure some guys in the locker room do, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and the way it plays out, people don't get exactly what they want. There's always sourness, I guess you could say, somewhere. I don't want to make anything bigger than that. So that's Dak saying, I think our culture is good. It's fine. If it's not, then I would feel personally attacked, and I would expect him to say that as the leader of the team. So
yeah,
there you
I
go.
mean, is fine enough. Like that's the thing that you have to look at is like you still need greater contributions from like your core leadership. I don't think that like Dak or any other leader on his own is enough to just like set the culture for the entire room. Like Brady can be the lead. It's not just Mahomes. It's like we've heard like time and again the heartbeat of that team is Kelsey, not Mahomes.
Chris Jones been getting some leadership praise.
Like I think when you look at like there's got to be, it can't just be like Dak always gets the praise for being a leader. It can't be one Dak. There's got to be like a few of them.
Yeah,
and I think they're trying to find those guys. It just hasn't come together. I think they'd love it if. What about Philly?
Winning culture, our championship culture.
Philly's locker room was busting at the seams. It was falling apart.
I know, but like they're thought of as like they had a great culture. Philadelphia.
People think they had a great culture this
maybe no, but I say it, even though they prior to that last 8 weeks,
they're an example of culture ruining a talented football team.
But prior to that final 8 weeks,
Jalen Hurts was like the face of the culture.
Yeah, everybody would have said Philly has a great culture, and apparently their culture's Big Dom.
Yeah,
they lost their leader. So when you lose Big Dom, that was the first domino to get pushed over.
Try the veal.